Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer and I'm here with your weekly horoscope. What I'm going to do today is go over some of the transits, and then we're going to pull a tarot card and do an angel reading to get the angel's advice for how to traverse the transits of this coming week. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. And if I talk about a time zone, I am in the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. Also, if you would like to book a reading with me or have your astrology chart analyzed, either a past life or a natal and transits, natal, even a synergy chart, I am available for that. So please just reach out. My information is below in the description. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to share my screen with you. And let's look at some of the transits. So today we see that we have Venus and Mars at the end of their journey through Capricorn. And each one this week is going to have a conversation with Pluto. This is very significant. Mars and Pluto both rule the sign of Scorpio. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was right. Mars and Pluto. And I say this because this is really this is a very strong energy for pulling up the muck, for getting down to the nitty gritty, for exposing that which is out of balance, and even something that might be aggressive or old resentments could potentially come up, and there's an opportunity to be liberated from these situations or to reconcile them in some way within your own mind. And I say that because we see Mercury is here and it is making a square to Jupiter. But I believe that this is about, what am I really going to believe? Am I going to allow myself to move forward, or am I going to be stuck in this feeling of exile? Aquarius can have a feeling of being, it can give you nerves. It can make you uncomfortable. It can make you feel as if you're so different than everyone else that, you're alone in the world. And I know that sounds kind of sad, but here I think this is an opportunity, even though it is a tense dynamic, it's an opportunity to truly stretch myself outside of my box and reconcile some sort of history. We see a very nice trine here to the South Node in Libra, which here to me is about fostering peace and harmony and a reconciliation. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to forgive something. I also think that it's important to see that this conversation between Mars and Pluto wants to be liberated. And so sometimes there can be an upset. I like to call it a divine disruption before that liberation takes place. And sometimes that liberation is not about somebody else's understanding. It's about our own willingness to own our truth, regardless of how other people feel. We see here that Chiron and the North Node are here in Aries, and this is very significant because the North Node is what we're stretching for in this lifetime. And right now, as it transits Aries, it's stretching for its unique individuality to actually feel the hero energy versus the aggression energy, and to be able to reconcile that so that we transform the Chiron energy into the healer. We see the 16th degree, which is the Cancerian degree of healing, of nurturing, of your inner knowing. So I think this is very powerful. And I think that as we become aware of this, it gives us more choices when we walk through this conjunction, because this is going to become within a day or so exact, and then Venus is going to follow suit. We saw Mercury going over this point last week. So let's move up a day. Now we see Mars is just ending its exaltation. It is in many ways sitting in this conjunction with Venus and Pluto. And for me, this is really about how much do I believe in myself? How much am I willing to build on my own skills? What is my voice actually saying? What kind of vibration is my voice putting out, the ripple effect into the world? Am I focusing on my fears? Am I letting my resentments hold me back? Or am I going to use them as a platform for growth? For, sometimes when we go through something that's very, what appears negative or dark, when we trust our intuitive body and we get that feeling again, we can actually be intentional and aware and move through it with much more ease and much more power. And that's what Pluto has to offer. It has power through our awareness of our psychology. And our makeup. And I want to offer this. Sometimes we're not aware, and yet at the same time, we can feel some sort of underbelly. As we move through the week, now we see Mars has moved into Aquarius. Very liberating, very, rebellious energy here. This is a take action energy. Aquarius rules the sign, rules genius. It rules the World Wide Web. It rules cosmic consciousness. It rules our hopes and our dreams. But it's also a house that matures over time. So, and we see it co-ruled by planets that we would think would be contrary. Saturn likes to slow things down. Uranus likes to move things forward unexpectedly. There's lightning strikes where Uranus is. And here, I think this is really at this 0 degree is an opportunity to think about how I take my action, where I spend my time mentally and emotionally. Again, Pluto and Mars both rule Scorpio, and so they are cooperative. And in many ways, they don't take no nonsense here. Now we see Venus coming up, and she's about to move into Aquarius. And when she does this, this is also sort of this feeling of taking her voice and what she's garnished about building on her own skills. And this could give her an opportunity to get a glimpse of how her life could be as she stands in bravery of her own skills, talents, and opinions. Let's move on to Valentine's Day. Now, all 3 planets are still in conjunction. Valentine's Day is kind of a sketchy day for a lot of people because if you're single, it can really bring that awareness. And if you're in a relationship that is seasoned, it can also bring that awareness. So here, I think this is really representing an opportunity to love on myself and again, be aware of a little bit of a deeper imprint on me than I would normally. This is going to exasperate something. So wherever Aquarius is in your chart, it's going to exasperate that. So here we see it's going to exasperate our beliefs. It's going to exasperate 9th house things, which could be business. It could be education, higher education. It's layered onto that Sagittarian energy. If Aquarius is your 1st house, then that could be a frustration or an epiphany of some kind about yourself and how you want to assert yourself or move yourself forward. So again, taking the house as the environment and the planets as sort of the personalities or the dynamics, the characteristics. Excuse me. Then we see over here on the 15th, this is an interesting day because with the moon moves very quickly, we know that, but here there could be a real emotional day about, again, using my skills, fostering, Taurus rules the voice, it rules the throat and the neck, it rules your personal skills, crafts, it is ruled by Venus. So here, I really think that this could be a day where what Venus has garnished, what it has discovered about what it wants to build. Here, I feel very ravenous in some ways, very emotional about making that happen on this particular day. And we continue to see throughout the week, Chiron and the North Node here hovering together at that 16th degree, really making emphasis on, am I allowing my wounds to be transformed? Am I allowing them to actually be empowerment tools that when I smell something instinctually, I have a new way of moving, directing, thinking. I think that's really powerful. Then we go to the 16th and we see our continued conjunction. This is a really, this week can be very powerful in the sense of, having an awareness of these planets makes us more intentional about how we show up versus, somebody who isn't aware and they just feel the planets and they react. Because here, this is a very powerful, Pluto's going to say to Venus, how much do you believe in yourself? What is your self-worth? Are you going to use out of balance tactics to get what you want? Or are you going to build something sustainable, unique, and that is focused on what you want in the future. That's very important, the future. We also see that Mars is at that Venusian degree. So this is a big conversation about being brave, about using some of our fears as a platform for empowerment versus pulling us under. We also see that at this particular time, there is a trine to the moon going into Gemini. So you may see this energy of something about your childhood, your early experience with your siblings, your cousins, your neighborhood, your workmates, your teammates, or you could even find yourself being inspired to reach out to certain people or to certain dynamics, bringing up something that feels as if it could potentially illuminate something. That's the way I want to put it. And then our final day of the week, the 17th. Again, now here we see that, the nodes now have gone retrograde. So this hovering around the 16th degree about the north node and our wound, and then this south node representing, what we're familiar with or what would feel familiar. Am I fostering my own individuality that actually empowers me and makes me feel valuable and purposeful? Or am I inadvertently being absorbed into some sort of partnership or idea of partnership that requires me to be less than I am? That's what I want to say there. We are heading towards this grand conjunction here that's going to come up in April, late April, and all the things that we start to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. All the awarenesses that we have now and the seeds that we start to plant right now could truly, we could feel a blossoming like never before. I believe that in this particular case, when Jupiter is going through the house of money, of my personal skills, of my voice, speaking my voice individually out into the world, there's some opportunity as Jupiter represents business and commerce and publishing and marketing. It does represent our beliefs in foreign people and foreign places and higher education. There are layers and layers to the houses and the planets. So as you look at your chart and you look at the degrees and you look at how they're playing in your own natal, with your natal aspects, you can start to garnish where this expansion can come from. So let's start with our birthday month. That's our Aquariuses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel or our first tarot card is the King of Wands. This is a gentleman who represents the sign of Sagittarius. Often he's looking to his future. He's looking out to, and how Aquarian is that? The fire signs are full of passion and adventure and individual thinking. So here, there's something about you looking out to your future. Let's see where we're going with this. Our first angel for Aquarius rising is about Serena, is about money and abundance. Athena is about asserting yourself lovingly in the world. Isaiah talks about new beginnings and Francesca talks about where is your focus? Are you focused on challenge or are you focused on opportunities? Each and everything we endeavor has an opportunity or an obstacle. One coin, two sides. Serena is being joined by the horse, which is another Sagittarian energy. Athena is being joined by the restriction card. Isaiah is being joined by the communications card. And Francesca is being joined by the joy card. For my Aquariuses, Serena talks about, is very much the law of attraction. As I sit in reception of my abundance, and I want to offer it this way, because oftentimes when we use money or an amount of money, it triggers a limitation. When we use the word resources, it can open things up where abundance can come in many ways. The horse is, as I said, very Sagittarian. And I feel like this is talking about being your belief system. If you've been concerned or nervous as you look to your future, we can't ignore this little gecko. I kind of think it's a little gecko. Maybe it could be a chameleon, but I don't think so. I think it's a little gecko. So I feel a little bit like this is about being patient. Maybe it is a chameleon, but for some reason I think of a gecko as it's able to walk up walls and stick to things, and things are coming in. As we look at Athena, saying to lovingly assert yourself. This restriction card is asking Aquarius, are you basing your ideas, your thoughts, your future on anxiety? Are you worried that you might not have enough? Because until you are sitting in a loving vibration, it's best to take a pause. Because Isaiah in the angel's advice says it's time to give birth to new ideas and new situations. We are gestating those ideas. And the communication card very much talks about what is your self-talk. That's further evidenced by Francesca saying, are you visualizing what can happen or what can go wrong? And then we have the joy card. So I want to offer this for my Aquariuses as Pluto enters into your first house. This is, a time of great transformation. And if you look at some of the people that are prominent in our media, they have had Pluto transits that have brought divine disruption in many ways, metaphoric deaths and rebirths. And many people have found a greater happiness than they ever thought was possible on the backside of that. So as you set your intentions and look to your future with passion, I think that you're going to experience a sense of joy, and the anxiety that you could potentially feel because Aquarius, Uranus rules anxiety. That could very well be your inner knowing saying, you're doing something based on money, fear, or trying to create security versus trying to create joy and passion. All right, let's go on to our Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. The Two of Wands. This is another energy, a fire energy. This is where this gentleman has the world in his hands. He's created a certain amount of something. We see that evidenced by the wand that is anchored into the wall, but yet he's still creating, he's still got more passions and excitement about what is potentially ahead. So let's look and see, because Saturn is traversing your first house, and Saturn is wanting you to create sustainable relationships and dynamics. And while we could very well say Saturn's going to remove the illusions where things aren't realistic. If we play with the laws of attraction, your belief is what is the most realistic thing in manifestation. So when you believe in your own sense of creativity, and then you use Saturn's energy to build, and you endure through the process of building, there is reward to be had. All right, Pisces. Our first angel is Desiree. The second is Layla. The third is Isaiah. And the final is Rochelle. Desiree is being joined by the Focus card. Layla's being joined by the Novice. Isaiah's being joined by the Joy card. And Rochelle is being joined by the High Priestess. Okay, so of all the signs of the Zodiac, the Pisces energy has no real protective shell. It's just these very, these little fishes, right? So when they get nervous, all they can do is swim away. So now Desiree talks about conditions not being favorable, and there's your focus. Are you focused on the excitement, or are you focused on something and worried? Because this is where this Two of Wands is calling for leadership in your future and what you want your world to look like. Layla is asking you to spend time talking to God and the angels about this new beginning that's being birthed. And if we think about Pisces rising, that would put Aquarius in your 12th house. There's a transformation being called forth within the natural house that you own, the ancestral house, the intuitive house, the creative house, the house that commingles the physical and the non-physical, because it's the house before we leave this human body. So here, Spirit is saying, Pisces, are you creating something new on joy? How are you? Because right now it would appear potentially that you're not. And Saturn can have that feeling on you. Could be feeling a little dampening. But Rochelle is saying, as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming to you. This to me is more than money. This is a sense of trust, a sense of flow, a sense of abundance, and a sense of ease. And then we see the High Priestess that almost feels like it's a card of destiny. Very much Pisces is a very intuitive sign. And when Pisces plugs into that intuitive knowing versus what they see with their eyes, there's great power there. So while this character has not created his world, he has a strong vision of it. So that's what I think we're going with this week. All right, let's go on to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card for Aries is the Five of Pentacles. This is a little bit of a challenging energy, I'm not going to lie. We think of this as a card that represents health. It represents the characters within it can't see the solution. They're almost walking by something because they're so entrenched in their own issues. And we know, we just talked about how the North Node and Chiron are transiting in the exact degree this week. And that's that Cancerian degree of self-care. It's a degree that represents nurturing of the self. So Aries, let's look and see where we're going with this. Our first angel for our Aries is Bridget. The second is Rochelle. The third is Archangel Michael. And the final is Yvonne. Now, Aries, your ruling planet is in the last degrees of its exaltation, and it is coming into a conjunction with Pluto. And while they both rule Scorpio, they also have this unyielding energy of needing a truth. Okay. So let's see where we're going. Bridget talks about Bridget's being joined by the Baird. Rochelle is being joined by the Disruption card. Archangel Michael is being joined by Merlin, and Yvonne is being joined by the Fear card. When I look at this, there's something going on that represents your history. You know, the Baird talks about the enchantment of storytelling, but with the Five of Pentacles, these characters don't see that there is a solution. There is a church or some sort of establishment that looks inviting, but they're too invested in their issue. This looks potentially like you're invested in your issue. I'm an Aries rising. I got some stuff going on right now. And I find that while my mind is very busy with you done me wrong stories. So I feel as if right now this is an opportunity for Aries to see that this is the Disruption card. And there's Rochelle saying that as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart. This to me is maybe where we start to move towards the solution versus focusing in on the challenge or where we feel slighted or where there's something underneath the surface that is inadvertently holding Aries back from really birthing that sense of yourself in the world. Because when I say birthing your sense of self in the world, it doesn't necessarily mean a career. It doesn't necessarily mean a love affair. It means how you feel joyous and flowy as you walk through your life. Because Archangel Michael is asking you to have the courage to make the changes that align to what's balanced for you, to what feels abundant to you. Because right now, there's sort of a double whammy here with Yvonne representing vulnerability, and here's the Fear card. So if we think about the idea that Aries rising, your 11th house is Aquarius. Pluto's moving into Aquarius. Right now, your ruling planet is conjunct Pluto, and Venus is coming up on it. You could very well have trepidation about how you're seen out in the world. You very well could feel like you've gotten to a certain age and you haven't seen your hopes and your dreams come true. And at the same time, I feel like Archangel Michael is encouraging you to be aware of the planetary activity, and rather than just defaulting to the warrior mind, allowing yourself the privilege of the awareness that it's okay to feel this way, but where do I want to live? And as I recognize where I want to live, my focus shifts. And that's where I'm vulnerable to my fears or vulnerable to the situation that could potentially be out of balance. There could also be an unknowing. There could be something where you're awaiting an answer, a response, And because it's taking a while, you may be defaulting to I don't win. So let's rewrite that story as well, because the disruption card oftentimes is a blessing because it's disrupting something that actually isn't working for us anymore. All right, let's go on to our Tauruses. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Lots going on in the Taurus energy. And this is very powerful. This beginning of this first part of the year, first half, I think is super powerful. All right, Taurus. Flexibility and flow. The Two of Pentacles is a travel card on some level. We see travel, but more than anything, we see this character really requiring, it's like there's this, he's almost looks like he's doing a jig. Everything in this card is sort of going up and down. And so flexibility, knowing that cycles go around, that things aren't permanent. I think that's really important. Taurus rules our personal history. Taurus likes to move slowly, likes to build a sense of trust and familiarity. And this is to me, very much a little bit of a counterintuitive energy, because where Taurus is going to say, well, which direction are we going? Or are we, do we have enough of a story to trust the path moving forward? And I don't know right now. I think there's a sense of flexibility needed. Or if there's been a disruption, because, if you've got Uranus making aspects to you, what's in your first house. When Uranus went over my ascendant, 26-degree Aries, I left my day job permanently and I started working for myself. And that was 10 years ago. So something really great could be happening. And I think that's where the flexibility is in your mind. Let's see where we're going. Our first angel is Adriana. You're being led to the answer to your dreams. Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend. Athena wants you to lovingly assert yourself. And Archangel Gabriel talks about having a divine life's purpose in communications and the arts. The High Priestess is joining Adriana. Aurora is being joined by the Earth Fairy. Athena is being joined by the Risk card. And Archangel Gabriel is being joined by Merlin. Excuse me. This could very well be a period of time where Jupiter's transit through your first house is requiring you to have a sense of faith about the things that you are manifesting in your life. Jupiter also rules, besides business and commerce and marketing and influencing and religion and foreign travel, foreign people, it also rules legal things. So if you're embroiled in some sort of legal thing, as we've got the Justice represented here, then you might be in the midst of a situation. And right now, keeping your eye on the prize of, meaning Adriana is leading you to the answers to your prayers, and you may have to trust an intuitive knowing versus having a physical earth knowing, because the Earth Fairy is talking about physical health and foundations, and Aurora is saying you're flying high right now, but this is in my opportunity and or my obstacle, so it's not manifested yet. So something will come into the material, but right now risking believing that you are standing in the side of balance, or that you're standing in the side of some sort of fairness. When I see these twos, there's always an up and down energy, because Archangel Gabriel is talking about communication. And then we have alchemy, justice, and balance. So for my Tauruses, there's something that, you might be walking through that has felt unknowing, unfair, maybe even, or it's been maybe even arduous to the road has been arduous, but now something's going to come back into balance. Something's going to be offered to you. And you right now get to sit in a more faithful energy versus, it's one of those, I'll see it when I believe it versus I'll believe it when I see it. Okay. On to our Geminis, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. All right. We have the Hanged Man. This is a pause for an illumination, an epiphany of some kind. We see that this man is, or this character is tethered to this tree, this limb, whatever it may be. And yet it looks as if he could wiggle himself out of it. It doesn't look as if he is actually, only one limb is tethered to this wood structure. Now we also see the red tights. That's our base chakra. So somewhere our base chakra has been turned upside down. And now this blue tunic is offering me an awareness of my voice. How am I speaking? And as a result of that, there could potentially be an illumination. The Hanged Man also represents a Neptunian energy. So when we look at Neptune, we're looking at the emotions. We're looking at spiritual energy of connection to my emotional body, which is more connected to my inner, my oversoul, the bigger part of me that is not living in a physical apparatus. And as I connect to that, I become more authentic in what I want to manifest. Let's see where we're going, Gemini. Ooh, our first angel for Gemini is Azure. Your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. Teresa in the opportunity or the obstacle is about worry. Xana is about protection. And Ariel is about connection through study and meditation to your higher self. That would also be what the Hanged Man represents. And as for my Geminis, as we see this Aquarian energy with Pluto and Mars and Venus all having a very intense conversation this week. First Mars, then Venus is going in. This can bring an awareness to you. It could also make the people around you cranky and edgy. Azure is saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. A burden will be lifted. Teresa is being joined by the Harmonious Wealth card. Xana is being joined by the Fear card. And Ariel's being joined by the Horse. So here for my Geminis, I think now, while I don't really, I know that meditation is the idea of slowing down the mind and focusing in on something so that we feel a sense of neutrality, but the mind is a muscle and it moves on its own, especially for Gemini. So here, I think that when you're trying to figure out how it's going to play out, this becomes a burden because you can go back and forth. I feel as if the real gold comes from just relaxing, trying not to worry, but rather having faith that something is coming through that you can't see right now. And then this Xana is literally telling me that your fears are behind you. So this is going to false evidence appearing real. Face everything and rise. I want to offer it this way to my Geminis, because as you align to a bigger picture of what you can experience here on this planet, you also align to the divine laws of the universe, which start bringing those components into your physical experience, which is what is being offered here. The Horse is a Jupiterian energy for me, which is a connection to the angelic realm, but I must be willing to move in that direction versus constantly looking into the physical realm for evidence that what I want to believe is true. So that might be a little bit of a challenge. Your ruling planet is going through Aquarius right now, and it really is pushing Mercury into a higher octave of thought. So I think that's important. And Jupiter is going to enter your first house this year. And while Jupiter will be in detriment, it's still going to be expansive. So I think that this is something that, as you're aware of it, you could really take advantage of Jupiter's expansion within the material to bring that in as the year progresses. All right, let's go on to our Cancers, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the very inspiring Page of Wands. This is the infusion of passion, creativity, ideas, fire. We very much see Cancer. This is like a mercurial hat. And I really think this is ideas starting to flow. Let's see where we're going. Our first angel is Serena, the angel of abundance. The second is Isabella saying, yes, the timing is right. Opal is saying that you are a child of God and all is well. And Mystique is telling you to keep charging ahead and expect miraculous solutions. Serena is being joined by the Queen. Isabella is being joined by the cow. Opal is being joined by the hawk. and Mystique is being joined by the novice. So Cancer, you may be very excited that Pluto has moved out of your house, the opposition. Pluto being in Capricorn was in your 7th house, and now Pluto has moved into your 8th house, offering you liberation in many ways. But I want to say this to you. Serena is the angel of abundance, and the queen is an angel, or is representing fertility, growing things manifesting as a result of receiving. And Serena is saying to be calm. Both energies are receptive. Okay, there's a kumbaya energy, and it's all in relation to some creative ideas in some ways. We could also, on some level, look at this page as the infusion of the fire energy, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Because if indeed you are a Cancer who's been wanting to start a family and that hasn't happened yet, it could be now that the transits have moved a little bit and Pluto's out of Capricorn, you may conceive and not realize it. Isabella says, yes, the timing is right for this new venture. And then we have the cow. This is a card of abundance, literally material abundance, asking and receiving. Opal, in the angel's advice, is telling you that you and your dreams and potentially the children you want to have are safe and cared for in the world. Here we have the hawk, which is about rising above it. It's also an 11, makes me aware of my thoughts. Are my thoughts aligned to what I want to experience, or am I inadvertently looking for where there could potentially be challenges? Because Mystique is telling you to keep charging ahead, to expect miraculous solutions. And the novice is giving you a new beginning. And I think this has very much to do with inspiration, passion, creative ideas, all things fiery. So if you are, this could be the page could represent an Aries energy where you're being a little bit more individualistic with your passions. It could represent a Leo energy, again, where you're asserting yourself, or maybe even creating little babies. And then, of course, the Sagittarius energy, which is really a very expansive energy. So this is very powerful for Cancer, because as Pluto was going through Capricorn, it might have been tearing up some structures that you were only focused on, how do I build in the material? Now this is about receiving in the emotional. All right, let's go on to our Leos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. For Leo, we have the transformational death card. This is never about death. This is always about transformation. This is very much the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. What we see in the death card is that the structure has fallen. The king is fallen, and what is left is faith. We see a pope here. So there is an opportunity, and for my Leos, as Pluto is opposing your first house, this is an opportunity for you to really reinvent yourself, but based on what do you believe? Our first angel is Isabella. Yes, the timing is right for this new venture. Adriana is leading you to the answers to your prayers. Archangel Uriel is trying to appease your frustration with the timing of things. And Layla is asking you to have conversations with Spirit about your intentions and your desires. And those conversations are really, declarations. Isabella is being joined by the ego. Adriana is being joined by the novice. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the butterfly. And Layla's being joined by the fire fairy. When I look at the death card, I notice quite a bit of predominant purple and yellow. Purple represents my third eye. The yellow represents my solar plex chakra, where my power comes from. And here, I think it's time for my Leos to let their ego step aside so that Spirit can step through. Because if for some reason you're holding yourself back, which is what that goblin would infer, Adriana is trying to lead you towards a new beginning using your skills, but these skills may not be practice skills. They may not be things that you're used to using in a public forum, because there is a frustration that Leo is experiencing with their own blossoming. So it's almost as if things aren't happening fast enough. And at the same time, I think you're afraid for them to happen fast because Layla is asking you to spend time with the universe, with God, with your angels, talking about your creative ideas, about your passions. And this is a real opportunity because the seventh house doesn't just rule marriage, it rules peace and harmony and fairness and a sense of belonging and cooperation. It rules professional partnerships. So anything that's contractually bound. So you could very well find yourself engaging in new relationships as you allow your fears or your trepidations or your previous experiences to basically die and be reborn. All right, let's go on to our Virgos. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. The Ace of Pentacles, the infusion of something coming into the material world. I always see this ace and I can't help but focus in on the pathway to the secret garden where the dreams live. And here I feel like when I look at this for my Virgos, you have Saturn opposing your first house. And, you know, this could really be about assessing the endeavors you're building, you know, kind of asking yourself, am I building on my own hopes and dreams, on the things that I want, or am I building on what is expected of me, what I've always done, how I serve others? Let's go. Our first angel is Celeste, the angel of work and or a potential new home or new employment. Omega is about victory. Keep up the good work. Crystal saying something's happening that you don't know about. And Bethany's about yourself, taking care of yourself. That's important. Celeste is being joined by the fire fairy. Omega is being joined by the burden card. Crystal's being joined by the dog. And Bethany's being joined by the queen. So for my Virgos, you know, I often get this energy from spirit that Virgo gets to enjoy the journey. There's a strong sense of perfectionism with the Virgo energy, and it seems almost counterintuitive to a virgin, to the idea of being innocent and new at something. So here, while Celeste talks about a new home or a new place of employment, I think Spirit's offering you an opportunity to start to focus in on what that would look like if you had your dream job, to get creative about where you want to live, about where you want to spend your time, and the people you want to spend your time with. Because right now, you may be feeling a bit of a burden, like things aren't working out, and that could be Saturn's opposition. And sometimes I think that a pause is giving the universe an opportunity to open something up that's much better than what we would have originally, the path we would have originally taken. In the angel's advice is Crystal saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon, and that more is something that you will love. And I want to offer this because the dog could literally be representing not just unconditional love, but there could be a place where when you move or you get a new job, it offers you a sense of more community, friendships, a pack. Because Bethany and the Queen are both talking about this is about reception, about being open to receiving, that you are fertile and not just within your physical body, but within your emotional body, your spiritual body. And this is about you and taking care of you. So I would say for my Virgos that putting intentions out to the universe about where you want to live, the kind of work you want to do, and taking time to really assess your joy level, your excitement level, your believability level, because this is about you and there is a new beginning being offered to you. And when the conjunction starts to take place, we've got eclipse season right before that. There's a lot of things that I think are going to come sort of click into place since we've been walking through so many disruptions the last couple of years. All right, let's go on to our Libras. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh boy. This is the Five of Cups. It's a bit of a challenging energy. The Five of Cups is a divorce card. It's a sorrow card, but oftentimes the character is mourning something that appears to be lost while there is something yet to be filled. And this is sort of like a Pluto transit in many ways. Pluto was squaring Libra for quite some time. And I want to offer it this way because when I look, well, let's see where the angels are going. But when I look at this, I see the two cups in behind the character as having an opportunity to fill it with something more aligned than what spilled out. So let's see. Our first angel is Desiree. The second is Azure. The third is Xana. And the final is Adriana. I would say that first thing for Libra is things aren't as they appear to be. So maybe sorrow is not really on the books, or divorce is not on the books. Something, a loss is not necessarily on the books. Let's see where we're going. Desiree is being joined by the Joy card. Aurora's being joined by Merlin. Xana's being joined by the Protection card. And Adriana's being joined by the Water Fairy. Okay, so this feels very powerful to me because every single one of the cards that came out of the Camelot deck reduced down to a 1. So this is, I think, this is imagined right now. I think you're concerned about loss. You're concerned about worry, or something has been triggering you. If you're a late born Libra, you've had a square to Pluto. So you could have physically experienced a transformation. But Desiree and the Joy card are a little counterintuitive. Desiree is saying conditions aren't favorable. They're not favorable because you're in sorrow, and Spirit's offering you joy. So something that, and it's a 37, which reduces down to a 10, which reduces down to a 1. Aurora says you're flying high right now, don't descend. Merlin is offering justice and balance and alchemy. Merlin is a 1. Xana and the Protection card is a double whammy of protection. The protection is a 38, which reduces down to an 11. And then Adriana is leading you to the answers to your prayers. And there's the emotive, intuitive Water Fairy, which is a 28, which reduces down to a 1. Somewhere here, I believe that Libra may be imagining that there's a loss, or a loss is coming, or there's something that you don't know about, that you're waiting for something to transpire, and you're imagining the longer it takes, the less chance it's going to work out. But I don't know if that's necessarily true. So to me, Spirit is really asking you to align to your deeper truth. This is, again, where you're sitting in this intuitive knowing of what feels more authentic. And here, I think it's a timing issue of some kind. That's the way I want to put it. I think you're being protected while whatever process is going on, and to assume that no news is bad news is not necessarily true. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios. That's Scorpio rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, we have the lovely Chariot. This is a card that is really a very intuitive card. It represents the sign of Cancer. It represents movement when there's no movement. We see the cement chariot, seems very solid. And yet where the movement comes is we've covered the base chakra, and now we're dealing with the chakras that are coming up and are more intuitive. The protection of the is the moon, the intuitive body. The stars are the canopy above his head. This is a very intuitive energy, and it's also an energy of understanding polarities or contrast. You know, that without rain, we would never know sunshine. You know, it's one of those kind of things, meaning the joy of sunshine. And if we had too much sunshine, we would never know what the joy of rain is. So there's some sort of reconciliation of opposites or polarities or things that feel contrary. Scorpio, our first energy. Athena says it's safe for you to lovingly assert yourself. Daniel is the angel of marriage and the history and relationships. Seraphina is about happy families, and Bridget is asking you to look deeper. And the Chariot rules home. The Chariot rules a sign of Cancer. So this could be very interesting about what you want for your home life and what you want to feel like on the interior. Athena is being joined by the water fairy. Daniel's being joined by the joy card. Seraphina is being joined by the novice. And Bridget's being joined by the cat. This is an interesting reading for me because when I think about Scorpio, your two ruling planets, Mars and Pluto, are transiting through Aquarius, and they're having a very intense conversation this week. It doesn't stop as Venus enters the conversation. So here, there could very well be an energy of polarities for you this week, where this is now an opportunity to dig deeper into your emotional body to see what's really truthful and what really matters to you and what your truth is versus where you may potentially have been giving up your truth to another situation. When I look at Daniel, the angel of marriage, it talks about history and partnerships. And there's the joy card. And I think that's what Spirit's asking you. Are you purporting relationships that bring you joy? Because in the angel's advice is a new beginning, skill without practice. And then here's happiness. And I don't know that this is ushering in, another energy as much as it's ushering in a potential epiphany for you. Because Bridget is asking you to look deeper into your own independence, into your own, and I want to offer it this way. If indeed you are, in an environment, a Cancerian environment where you're in a relationship, a family, even working in real estate, in a company that works for real estate, are you happy there? Is it supporting the deeper truth of what you want? Is this because if you're experiencing a lot of disruption right now, it could be to illuminate something that's more important for you. So this week, the conversation between Mars, Pluto, and Venus might be a little challenging because I think it's going to require Scorpio to dig deep into their emotional body and to answer interior questions that have been more important than potential outer fears of security or not having security. All right. Let's go on to our Sagittarius' rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, the Six of Pentacles. This is the have or have not card. And oftentimes people look at it and they're like, well, what does that mean? Who will the benefactor choose to give his money to? If we look at this card carefully, we see that the person receiving the funds is wearing an orange tunic or an orange robe. This would represent my sacral chakra, very invested in his desires, in his wants. That's where his focus is. This character has been speaking in lack. This blue tunic represents the throat chakra, and the scales of justice sitting over him are basically like the law of attraction. Lack and the talk conversation of lack brings more lack. The conversation of abundance brings more abundance. All right, Sagittarius, let's see where we're going. We even see the benefactors wearing green boots. That's the heart chakra. So he stands on his heart. So that's probably what engaged was the passion of the guy here explaining that's what probably engaged him. Our first angel is Ray, Sagittarius. The second is Archangel Uriel. The third is Astera. And the final is Yvonne. Ray is a connection to spirit. It is an intention-setting energy. Ray is being joined by the Joy card. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Novice. Astera is being joined by the Risk card. And Yvonne is being joined by the Burden card. So this is very much for my Sagittarius is about what do you believe? This six is really the crux of the situation this week. Is your conversation in abundance or is it in lack? Because Spirit is asking you to speak to them with joy about what you want to endeavor. And on some level, if it has not been manifested, which most people are in a process of manifestation, then this is the final position. It's so important to be vulnerable to a deeper truth, which can be a burden in the human body. It can literally be like, oh, right, I think about what I want and it just appears magically. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it can. What a difference a day makes. Because right now, Spirit's asking you to really start to tell a new story because you've been frustrated on some level. Something's been keeping you in a feeling of, I don't know, I almost felt like I was going in a circle, because when I look at the angel's advice, it's to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and don't compromise. And then we have this risk card. So I think that for this week, you know, we're all going to feel Mars and Pluto's transit. We're all might have a little warrior in our head. Some of us may act out. But for those of us that are walking a conscious path, the awareness of the duality will help us walk through it more intentionally. So while it may be a bit of a burden to be vulnerable to your deeper joy, the more that you talk about that particular joy, the more the universe aligns to bring it into your physical experience. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Capricorn. That's rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. But you're happy that Pluto's moved out of your first house. It will revisit the late degrees later in the year, but for now, most of the transformation has been done. Speaking of transformation, here's the Tower. The Tower is an unexpected energy. It knocks the king off the crown. It is a little bit unemotional about how it goes about. It's very Uranian to me. Some people think this is Mars, but when I see the lightning strike, when I see the crown falling, that's Uranus, you know, rebelling against the man. So let's see where we're going with this, Capricorn. Because right now, that liberation may be from all the duty and obligation you have felt up until now. Our first angel is Bridget. The second is Grace and Antoinette. The third is Oceana, and the final is Celeste. Ooh. I wonder if there's an unexpected opportunity coming in. Bridget's being joined by the dog. Grace and Antoinette's being joined by the fear card. Oceana's being joined by the risk card. And Celeste is being joined by the truth. You know, I want to offer it this way because, you know, again, the Tower is Uranian to me. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. Pluto has moved into Aquarius. So our early degree Capricorns are still feeling a conjunction there. But I'm sorry, late born Capricorns, late rising will feel the conjunction to Aquarius. But this is what I want to say. Because what I think that Pluto did when it went through your first house was it was about really redefining what's important to you, how you want to express yourself, your deepest desires versus where you feel duty and obligation and requirement. Because this is, again, something is going to transpire unexpectedly that's going to ask you to look deeper into your heart and to be loyal to yourself. Even though you may feel a sense of fear about it, Grace and Antoinette encourages you to be compassionate as you walk through that, because you're literally risking following your emotional body versus your intellectual, realistic, human, physical body that knows the structure and what the statistics are for success, because the laws of the universe will defy statistics every time. Because now Celeste talks about a new home or a new place of employment, and there's the truth card. And for the most part, I always say to myself, wherever you put my body, I think a certain way. So unless I change the way I'm thinking, the location isn't going to change me. So here, I think this is another layer of Capricorn, like individualizing yourself, liberating yourself from some old stories that just didn't line up, having more compassion as you walk through this transit of Venus and Mars and Pluto, having this really intense conversation about old anger, about bravery, about worth and self-worth and money. And we still have Mercury floating around in Aquarius. So that's going on. But overall, to me, there's either a sudden epiphany, and if for some reason something in the outer world happens, a disruption, it might be the very catalyst that's moving you into something that's more aligned to the evolved version of yourself or where you want to go. All right, everybody, that's it for me for today. I'll be back live next Sunday. That's February 18th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we'll do this all again. I hope you'll join me. In the meantime, please like, please subscribe, please share, and best of all, have a great week. Peace. Peace out. My fingers almost flipped you off. Sorry.